Welcome to everyone to the 56th meeting of the 7th Council Municipality of South Dundas. We are missing Deputy Mayor Gardner this evening. She is on holidays and it's told us so before. So as much as we will miss her, we will continue and carry on business of the municipality. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Byvelds?
Here.
Councillor Lewis?
Here.
Councillor Mellon?
Here.
Councillor Wells?
Here.
Excused is Deputy Mayor Gardner. CAO Garrity?
Here.
Deputy Clerk Robert?
Here.
Treasurer McMillan?
Here.
Deputy Treasurer Mason?
Here.
Fire Chief Morehouse?
Here.
Director of Environmental Services?
Here.
Director of Transportation?
Here.
CDO Hunter?
Here.
CBO Lowy?
Here.
And Deputy Chief Hunter?
Stepped out.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Confirmation of agenda. We have moved a bunch of stuff out, Madam Clerk.
So tonight we will move the Town of Prescott from the consent agenda to discussion. The Town of Prescott, the broadband investment, the KIR on waste management diversion, the KIR on tipping fee analysis, the KIR on budget to actual, the KIR on physician recruitment and retention work plan. And we will defer the municipality of West Elgin universal basic income.
That's municipality Grey Highlands, Madam Clerk.
Oh, sorry.
H.
Yes.
Both are the same. That's the one I chose, but doesn't matter. Anything else?
No.
We did. Did you move? Oh, yeah. Okay, we're good. Any additions from any members of council this evening? Okay, seeing none, any declaration of disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, the adoption of minutes for 2 meetings, please.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Wells, that the minutes of the 52nd regular and in-camera council meetings and the minutes of the 53rd special and in-camera council meetings of the municipality of South Dundas be adopted as circulated.
Any discussions from any members of council? Seeing none, I'll call the vote, please.
Mayor Byvelds?
Yes.
Councillor Lewis?
Yes.
Councillor Mellon?
Yes.
Councillor Wells?
Yes.
Motion passes. We have no delegations or petitions tonight, so we'll move on to 7 action requests. First one is PE 2020-02 nuisance request.
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Lewis, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas accept report PE 2020-02 to grant a temporary exemption request under bylaw number 2016-20, specifically general provisions, prohibitions by time for an event to be held on August 22nd, 2020.
Nicole, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is a specific request for exemption for time under our nuisance bylaw 2016-20. The applicant is located in Williamsburg, just behind the United Church at 12418 County Road 18. She's requesting an exemption from the hours between 11 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. To host her wedding. I can answer any questions if council has.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with Councillor Wells.
I have no issues with this, Mayor, at all. So, thank you.
Councillor Mellon.
No, me neither. I'm good with it.
Council Lewis?
No, I have no issues. Thank you.
Okay, same here. We'll call the vote then, please.
Mayor Byvelds,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Mellon,
Yes.
Counselor Wells.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next one is ES 2020-12 SDG County Regionalization of Waste Management Study.
Moved by Counselor Lewis, second by Counselor Mellon, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas accept report ES 2020-12 to approve the contribution of $10,000 toward the SDG Regional Waste Management Study from the Service Modernization Funding received from the province.
Danielle, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So in front of you this evening is a report requesting additional funds from Council to continue on with the regionalization of waste management in SDNG. This is a project that's being led by the counties. So each municipality in SDNG has contributed $10,000 to this project. The request actually came in 2019. However, since there were no staff on the file, there was no money set aside. So we are requesting that $10,000 come from the service efficiency funding provided by the province. We feel that it fits the requirements. And that is actually what the counties is also using their funding for, is towards the regionalization of waste management. I'll take any questions if council has any.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with Council Lewis, please.
No, I have no questions on this. I think it's a good plan. Thank you.
Council Mellon?
Thank you, Mayor Byvelds. Danielle, I read your report over. It's very good. Will incinerators be part of the discussion?
So the first stage of the county's regionalization plan is actually just looking at all the assets that we have collectively as each individual municipality. The second stage, should the county move forward on this plan, would be to look at options for future waste disposal. So I would assume that an incinerator would be a part of step 2 in this study.
And one more thing, I guess on page 43, table 3, projected implementation schedule. Obviously, has that been revamped? There was supposed to be some done in August. Like, what's the timeline are you looking for? How long? Like, we've almost been set back a year from well, funding secured and request for proposal released was August 2019. Have you got a revised schedule? When, obviously I don't think you're going to be able to shove all that into and have it by April 1st, 2021 to have phase 4 completed.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the project implementation schedule hasn't changed. This request did come to the municipality in 2019. However, there was no one on the file. So it was deferred until we had someone on the waste management file, and that's why I'm bringing it forward now. The work has begun. We issued an RFP and it was awarded by SDG County Council, and the mayor may be able to speak to this, earlier on in 2020. We are still looking for the project to be completed in Q1 of 2021. So this project schedule hasn't changed. If it does, though, we could keep you informed on that.
No, that's fine. I just didn't realize that it had already been started and implemented and things have been moving. Thank you.
Council Wells?
No, I have no questions. Mayor Byvelds, we were informed about this a year ago, and now we're just proceeding with it. So I'm all good. Thank you.
Okay. I'm actually pleased that the counties and the lower tiers are getting together and looking at this large file and seeing what we can collaborate along with the city of Cornwall. Question I would have, though, and maybe you won't be able to answer this, is if all the lower tiers have pitched in their $100,000 for sure.
So believe only 10,000 that they're asking from each municipality. I'm not certain about the other municipalities. I know there's a few that have already contributed in their 2019, so in their 2020 budget they had it slated. I can't speak for the other municipalities. I'm not sure where that sits.
Okay, fair enough. I can find out from the county treasurer if I need to, but yeah, we need to do this, so I'm good with it. So if there's nothing else, Madam Clerk?
Mayor Byvelds,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Mellon,
Yes,
Councillor Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next one is FES 2020-05, unit number 145, former chief's truck.
By Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Lewis, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas accept report FES 2020-05 to approve transfer unit number 145 to the Iroquois Station.
Chief Morehouse, and welcome to Deputy Chief Hunter this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Just a little background on this project. When we discussed what we were going to do with the former chief's unit, we put it into the Iroquois Station, and we had designated it as a forestry unit. Since that time, the firefighters in the Iroquois Station would like to reallocate that truck and attach you a fine letter from Deputy Chief Hunter, and I will turn the floor over to him, and he can answer any questions or add whatever needs to be said. Ray?
You have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay, we're just asking to change the name of the truck from a forestry truck to a personnel carrier and equipment carrier. We believe that this needs to be done with the truck due to that our rescue van moving to Williamsburg, and we have an unsafe way of carrying bottles as of when the rescue comes back to Williamsburg. We have to carry the bottles now in our tanker, and we don't want to do that in the middle of a fire, stop shuttling water to have to transport bottles to Morrisburg to be refilled. So this is what we need the truck for.
Okay. That's it from you, Chief Morehouse, too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Councilor Wells.
Yes, Mayor, I have no issues with this. I take Deputy Chief Hunter's word that they need it, and I have no issues with it. I see there might be a little bit of cost associated with it, but it's all going to be done through the Iroquois Station. So I would recommend we let them use the truck for what they propose. Thank you.
Councilor Mellon.
yeah, thank you, Mayor Byvelds. I know at budget time when we were talking about the replacement of Chief's truck, there was some mechanical issues, some of them quite serious, I guess. It was going to be checked out by our mechanic to find out what the exact costs were. I have those mechanical issues with the former Chief's truck and taken care of. If they were, I think we were supposed to be appraised of anything that was going to be, any major repairs to it before we disposed of it, however we disposed of it. But as far as the mechanical issues of it, and like as far as the maintenance because of those mechanical issues and the mileage on it, is there going to be a foreseeable amount of maintenance that are going to be required on that truck?
So I can speak to that, Councillor Mellon. The truck did, before it did go back to the Iroquois Station, it had to have some work done on it at Ford. The transmission issues that we had under warranty due to some of the parts that had been used to replace and repair it in the first place. So right now there is no mechanical issues with the truck. It's all been replaced under warranty at this time.
That's good. Alrighty then. That was a big thing, the issue. I guess it wouldn't go into, it was in differential lock or something all the time. I forget what it was.
Yeah,
there was some, yeah.
With the but no,
Okay.
That's all been fixed under, and I'm just waiting for the mechanic to get caught up, and then he can do up a report for council of the fitness of that vehicle, but right now it's fully fit.
Okay, and I appreciate the Iroquois firefighters wanting to take this truck on and picking up the cost of any retrofit they got to do to it. Kudos to the Iroquois station. Thank you.
Council Lewis?
No, I have no issues with this. It's better if the air bottles are transported safely, and so yeah, no, I have no issues with this. Thank you.
Okay, so the only comment I have to this is I do appreciate all the work that the Firefighter Association does, and I appreciate their generosity in dealing with this retrofit. However, my preference would have been that the municipality would have funded that retrofit because it is our equipment and allowed the firefighters to continue on with their charitable works, but it seems like council and they wanted to do that. So that's something they can keep in mind. You know, if we need, I've always said if the firefighters of our municipality need equipment and can justify it, then we as municipality should be able to pay for it and make sure they have the tools available to do what they need to do. But then again, you know, they do feel like they need to be part of it, and this is certainly an opportunity for them to do that. So kudos for them. Keep that in mind further ahead, though, for anything else. It's, you know, the money you raise certainly goes to some great charities you work for, and this does take away from that a bit. So, is there anything else from council? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote then, please.
Mayor Byvelds,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Mellon,
Yes.
Councillor Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next one is TR 2020-08, Section 357 tax write-offs for the 2019 final.
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Mellon, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas accept report TR 2020-08 to approve the municipal tax write-offs in the amount of $574.49 according to the property tax classes as per the attached.
Sarah, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this report is for Section 357 requests we received for the 2019 tax year. Under the Municipal Act, property owners can make applications under Section 357 to request a write-off of a portion of their taxes due to instances such as change of use in the property, for example, a business closure, fires, demolitions, etc. This report is to authorize write-off of $1,733 in taxes, with the municipal portion being $575. This amount is covered through our operating budget, and then the county and education portions will be recouped from them during our year-end reconciliations. I can answer any questions that council has.
Okay, this is pretty general in nature. Is there any questions, comments, concerns from any member of council on this? Okay, then we'll just call for the vote then, please.
Mayor Byvelds,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Mellon,
Yes.
Councillor Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to TR 2020-09, 2019 financial statements.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Wells, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas accept report TR 2020-09 to approve the financial statements as presented by MNP LLP on June 15th, 2020, and that should read the 2019 financial statements.
Okay. Sarah?
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. So this report is to accept the 2019 financial statements that were presented by Jamie from NMP at our last regular council meeting. As council is aware, we finished 2019 with a $134,000 deficit, which can be attributed to budget overruns in our repairs and maintenance and our winter control budget. Jamie highlighted some items for staff and council in our management letter. The first being our reserve and reserve fund balances. The main concern being our working reserve, which the balance has been declining over the past few years. For 2019, we were at 13%, and the recommendation is for it to be at a minimum of 10% of our general operating costs. So this is something that council and staff need to be aware of when making recommendations for funding projects so that we don't deplete the balance below the recommended level. The next item was internal controls at the landfill. and the recommendation to research weigh scales or a ticketing system. This is addressed in Danielle's report, which has been moved to discussion later in the meeting. The final item is financial records of local boards and committees, which unfortunately continues to be a work in progress. Overall, I'm satisfied with our 2019 audit. There were some delays due to COVID, and the hope is that next year we can receive our financial statements a bit sooner. We'll be doing a follow-up with Jamie and his team for improvements that we can make for the 2020 audit, and I can answer any questions council has. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Lewis?
No, I have no questions. I think the night that we met with Jamie, almost all the questions that I was looking for was answered on that given night. So I have no questions on this. Thank you.
Councillor Mellon?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Sarah.
Councillor Wells?
No, the night Jamie came and did his delegation, we were all informed pretty good, so I'm all good to go. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. We'll just call for the vote then, please.
Mayor Byveld?
Yes.
Councillor Lewis?
Yes.
Councillor Mellon?
Yes.
Councillor Wells?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to bylaws. First bylaw is 2020-52, Rural Economic Development Grant.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Wells, that bylaw number 2020-52 being a bylaw to approve the contribution agreement between Her Majesty the Queen in Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs and the Municipality of South Dundas for the South Dundas Business Network Expansion Project. Be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Rob, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. What Council has before you is a contribution agreement between OMAFRA and the Municipality of South Dundas for our business retention and expansion 12-month project. If you remember back to the meeting that we had in February, I know that's a long time ago, this was brought forward that the RED program was opening up and that this was a perfect opportunity to apply for this 12-month project that would include a coordinator, allow us to basically get the Economic Development Office all online and for electronic wise for all our records and that instead of relying on file folder systems and that type of thing, creating a business inventory, setting up a client relation management system, setting up the email communication system. There's also a number of items related to community engagement and business engagement events, career fair and job fair. So I'm happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you. Councillor Wells, anything?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm good with everything. Thank you.
Councillor Mellon?
Just refresh my memory, if you will, Rob. I don't see in there, and I can't remember, I guess, and I should have went through my rat's nest I call a file system. Where is the 37,000 or whatever, 37 and change for our 50%? Where would that be coming from? For our half?
Yeah, for our half, and this was in the report that went to council back in February, but there's $16,500 of matching funds within our 2020 economic development budget already. So we're matching funds of things that are already in the budget. There were $5,250 from reserve, and then there's going to be, because it's a 12-month project, there's $15,500 that will be in the 2021 economic development budget.
Okay, so, well, in this, we're all, and I have no problem with it, don't get me wrong, it's fine, we're almost allocating next year, and I guess that was agreed upon for, to pick up the rest of it. But yeah, this is a good opportunity to take advantage of some funding, 13,000 and change, or 37,000 and change from OMAFRA. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get some clarification on that funding. Thank you.
Councillor Lewis?
No, I have no questions. So our meeting in February to go over it. Everything's good for me. Thank you.
Yep, same here. Call vote, please.
Mayor Byveld?
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Mellon,
Yes.
Counselor Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries. We'll move on to the next bylaw, 2020-53, the Gibbon branch of the Vanderspank drain.
Moved by Counselor Wells, second by Counselor Lewis, that bylaw number 2020-53 being a bylaw to assess the maintenance costs of the Gibbon branch of the Vanderspank municipal drain be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
John, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the bylaw 2020-53, the maintenance on the Gibbon branch of the Vanderspank drain was completed in 2014. The accumulated maintenance costs were $12,325. We received a agricultural drainage infrastructure grant in the amount of $3509.66. That amount has been applied to applicable agricultural properties, and the net amount to be assessed out is $8,816.04.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns from council on this? Councilor Wells?
This is probably going to play like an old record, but we're going back. This is 2014. Sean, have we gained any ground on getting these grants in quicker or anything? Like we're going, this is a bill for like 6 years ago. And Mayor Byvilles and Councilor Mellon can probably go because they're always getting charged 6 years or 7 years later. I'm just wondering have we gained any ground on getting this stuff in quicker? I know we've had quite a few discussions about it, but I just wonder, like on, I'd like to hear your outlook on it, see if things are getting better. And maybe that'll give direction to all the farmers, which they probably already know. But it's just to help me out a bit to see, because we're always dealing with this like 5, 6, 7 years later. Thank you.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Wells. Yes, Councillor Wells, we are making inroads on the billings. I realize this is still from 6 years ago. It's not a situation where we're waiting on grant dollars anymore. We have all the grant dollars we've applied for. It's just my administration to have the create the assessment schedules, have them reviewed by the engineer, and then get the bylaw in front of council and then get it invoiced out. I hope to, with any luck at all, by the end of 2020 to be, if not completed, the 2015 maintenance to be well into it. These 4 drains pretty all but complete 2014. I think I may have 2 more coming to the next meeting. We are making inroads, and we're probably next year or the year after, we should be up to date for our most recent drains, as we're getting with the help that McIntosh Perry is providing. We're getting them moving a little quicker.
Good, council. Okay, anything else? Councilor Mellon?
Yeah, apologize for my phone going off there. Maybe. Oh, you didn't hear him. I'm on mute. Sorry. I guess to address something along Councilor Wells's, when I was looking through these drains, and this is something I think we're going to have to address with maybe McIntosh and Perry. The one drain, the engineer's report is 60 years old. And when we come to the assessment end of it for Sean and staff, I think it must be a nightmare trying to work with a 60-year-old engineer report. And that's something I think that I think we need to, I don't know how to address it, or try to bring some of these assessment schedules up to something less than 60 years. But that's about all my comment on that.
Okay, Sean, any comments back on that right now?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Mellon. You're right there. A lot of these reports are 40, 50, and 60 years old. As you well know, if anybody petitions for a new report, or if the municipality petitions for a new report, it's going to be quite costly. And I'm not saying that it's not in the near future, but it may be necessary for some of these, and to be quite frank, some of the drains that I've come across, we can't even locate the report anymore. So it's, these are things that are going to be coming down the pipe. Thank you.
Good, Councilor Mellon? Okay, Councilor Lewis, any comments?
The only thing I have to say is kudos to Sean and for doing this. Whenever we first got elected in, if I'm not mistaken, we were something like 8 years behind in billing, and now we're only 6. I think we've made a big step, and I say congratulations to you and your staff. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, my only comment, Sean, is I acknowledge that there's a lot to do, and each one of them take a lot of time, and whether it's this one or any of the 3 that are remaining, it's a lot of work. I know that Councilor Mellon alluded to, there's one here that's 60 years old. I think some of the lessons learned is we want to make sure that the assessment schedule is up to date before we do any maintenance from now on, and as much as it may change in the short time after, then at least we got something that's a lot more up to date, because even this one here, you look at the map, and I suspect there's quite a bit of changes and a lot of name changes and consolidates, putting lands together and whole 9 yards. So anyway, good for you to get it done. I know MP plays a big role, and we just got to get her done right. So if there's nothing else, I'll call for the vote on this one, please.
Mayor Byvelds,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Mellon,
Yes.
Councillor Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next one is 2020-54, the Gordon Garlow Municipal Drain.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Mellon, that bylaw number 2020-54, being a bylaw to assess the maintenance costs of the Gordon Garlow Municipal Drain, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maintenance on the Gordon Garlow Municipal Drain was completed in 2014. The accumulated cost for maintenance was $10,379. We applied for and received a grant amount of $2,538, which has been applied against the eligible agricultural lands. And the net amount to be assessed out for the properties remain in the watershed is $7,841. There are 6 properties with assessments that are less than $10. We will not invoice those out, and the total of those 6 properties is $32.09. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions, concern on this from any member of council? Seeing none, call the vote, please.
Mayor Byvelds,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Mellon,
Yes.
Councillor Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next bylaw is 2020-55, the Thomas Merkley Municipal Drain.
Oops. Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2020-55, being a bylaw to assess the maintenance costs of the Thomas Merkley Municipal Drain, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maintenance on the Thomas Merkley Municipal Drain was completed in 2014. The accumulated costs were $12,276. Agricultural drainage infrastructure grants were received in the amount of $5,054, which have been applied to agricultural properties. The net amount to be assessed out is $7,230.63. There are 8 properties with assessment amounts less than $10, and we won't be invoicing those, and the total of those 8 properties is $55.41. Thank you very much.
Any comments, questions, concerns over this drain at all? Call the vote, please.
Mayor Byvelds,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Mellon,
Yes.
Councillor Wells.
Yes.
Motion's carried. Next one is 2020-56, the Charles M. Whitaker Drain.
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Mellon, that bylaw number 2020-56, being a bylaw to assess the maintenance costs of the Charles M. Whitaker Municipal Drain, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Charles M. Whitaker Municipal Drain Maintenance was completed also in 2014. The accumulated costs were $19,901. We received drainage infrastructure grants in the amount of $6,543, which were applied to eligible agricultural properties. The net amount to be assessed out in the watershed is $13,358. There is one property with an assessment amount of $7.35, and we won't be invoicing for that. One thing I will add for all 4 of these bylaws is that the due date is on November 30th of 2020. Thank you.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns from council on this one? Seeing none, I'll call the vote, please.
Mayor Byvelds,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Mellon,
So yes, sorry.
Councillor Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next one is the consent agenda, please.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Mellon, that all items listed under general consent section of the agenda be adopted as presented, save and except for items 9F, M, N, O, and R be moved to discussion items, and that 9H be deferred.
Okay, and this evening we have a whole bunch of information starting from Municipal Affairs and Housing over the COVID-19 Economic Recovery Act. We have a number of resolutions from a number of other municipalities. We have the minutes for our Morrisburg Waterfront Advisory Committee, key information on our Shop Local initiative, key information report on capital update, a tile drain loan application. Call for the vote, please. Oh, sorry. One before we go, we have monthly activity reports from our recreation facilities, economic development, water, wastewater, transportation, environmental services, fire and emergency services, finance, and CAO. Go ahead.
Mayor Byvelds,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Mellon,
Yes. Councillor
Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to number 10, which will take the most time of this meeting. First, council representatives. There was no county council meeting, so neither myself or deputy mayor will report. Any cemetery board meeting, Councillor Wells?
No, Mayor Byvelds.
There was no Air Quality District Business Group meeting for myself, Morrisburg BIA.
No meeting.
Okay, South Nation Conservation Authority, Councillor Mellon.
Yes, Mayor Byvelds, they had a meeting on June 18th. I sent out, I guess, it was forwarded to me, the municipal work plan and through an email, and I sent that on to council and to staff, and hopefully staff may be able to put the municipal work plan for South Dundas on our website so people maybe can, if anybody's interested. I guess there was a few areas. The conservation area visitation through May it's double over the previous years, probably due to COVID-19 and people having limited access to anything. They've had to cancel fundraising, golf tournament, and programs such as the fish camp and the maple syrup program, and so they're going to have to juggle some numbers around because the golf tournament usually went towards the maple syrup program in the Oshman Forest. The late winter harvest, forest harvest is completed. The revenue they pulled in off of was out of South Dundas was 40,552 off that forest harvesting that was done over the last winter in January, February. It's a thinning process. They go through and mark the trees and take those out. SD&G, the roadside tree planting program, there were 32 sites. The tree planting on private lands in South Dundas were five landowners and 850 trees. There was a total of 140,600 and change in South Nation jurisdiction. Trees planted this spring, even with the COVID-19, they were still able to get that done. The LiDAR flood prone mapping, we have talked about that, and I don't know, it is completed, and they can, how we'll get a presentation, maybe when we get to meet in person again or through a WebEx meeting or whatever, but hopefully we can get that done because we did finance it, and the mayor, you have asked about that, and so hopefully we can get something that. Compared to 2019, the septic permits have been up 50%, regulation permits up 40%, and planning is on about par from 2019. I guess the only bad thing about it, because people were at home, there was a record number of complaints in the South Nation for different things. We renewed the agreement with Scouts Canada for Camp Sheldrick for a 5-year term. We approved the phase 2 mitigation of flood risk at the Chesterfield Dam, and that was an $80,000. Part of these was funded. Outside funding sources was used in some of those on that one. Approved the 2020-2021 tree fee schedule and the tree purchase of tree seedlings for the 2020 or 2021 year is 135,000 plus HT pending the 2021 budget allocation and approval. We approved the logging contract for controlled thinning for later this coming year. It's about $24,644, and there's one property in South Dundas which makes up a big portion of that. It's over 17,500 and change on that contract for tree thinning. Discussion on when and how to hold the AGM was held. There was quite a bit of discussion on how we could hold it. They didn't really want to do it by WebEx or program. They were going to wait and see, and they're hoping maybe August or September, but it's up in the air right now. The next South Nation meeting will be in August, as there's none scheduled in July. Right after the South Nation Board of Directors meeting, they had the annual source water protection meeting. It's an annual meeting, as the mayor is aware of, and there was no issues with South Nation's or South Dundas's source water protection since we draw out of the St. Lawrence. Actually, it was a good clean throughout this jurisdiction. There's a couple of there's I think maybe 20 septic systems that have to be yet to be checked under the source water protection program for that, but nothing affecting South Dundas under the source water protection. And I think that's all I have, Mayor Byvells. I'll answer any questions if I can.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council? Good report, Councillor Mellon. Marshford Water Committee, we have the minutes, no other meeting. Councillor Wells is now no longer a member, so we'll see where that goes. We have no meeting as per that yet, but we have decided, and Councillor Wells may be able to comment on some discussion we had this morning on parking lot.
Yes, going back to, we had a mercy meeting there last Tuesday, and this has been an ongoing discussion brought forward for the new parking lots. And Mayor Byvells, myself, Michael Burton was there, and we outlined the new parking lots that are going to be started probably within a couple weeks after we get our locates done, which hopefully will relieve a lot of the parking around the dock area and that. And I think it's the way I see it's gonna work out good, and just see where it goes. I think we're all everyone's on the right page for the new look for our waterfront and everything, and I'm sure all the people will be happy once we get everything done and move forward in a couple of weeks with the new parking lots and all the other stuff. So I think that's pretty much it, Mayor, unless you want to add something to it.
No, I certainly highlighted the new parking areas that we marked out this morning, and we did do staff did do what needed to do on Friday, and we have to have some more tune-ups as we go along, but we had to do what we had to do. I think it's gonna certainly enhance the Morrisburg waterfront for now. I know it's not as handy for those who like to park under the shade, but the park is a park, and we're trying to accommodate them best we can with accessible areas close enough to them to, that they can get there. So we'll see how it goes. This weekend's supposed to be a little warmer and a bigger test than last. The Iroquois Waterfront Committee hasn't met. The South Branch Committee hasn't met. Correct, Councilor Mellon?
That's
Carmen
right.
House. Carmen House.
No meeting.
Nor has the Archives Committee met, and Deputy Mayor Gardner's not here for the other three, though there's a doctor key information report coming up later that CAO can talk to us about. So next discussion item is a letter that we received from David Ross, who's the CEO of Ross Video, concerning a potential donation to the pathways that this council has approved at our last meeting. The letter was in our council package, mainly offering that Ross Video would pay for the moving of the pathway. Maybe I'll turn it over to CEO to give us some more information on the works of that. So Shannon.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I do have the treasurer as well on as well too, in case there's any financial questions. So we did receive a letter from Ross Video in regards to doing some amendments to the original scope. I did actually have a conversation with Cornwall Gravel today in regards to their work, which is expected to begin this week. They have no issue in regards to another contractor going in to do the reshape that's proposed in the original email from Ross Video. Our concern was in regards to our procurement policy and our charitable donation policy to make sure that it fits within the realm of our policies. The only thing I would say to council is if council wants to go through this as per our charitable donation policy, it does state that when a donor requests that the donee pay for, when the donor has directed the funds to a specific person, family, or business, no tax receipt will be issued. So if Ross Video is looking at donating the funds to Lloyd McMillan to do the work, we would not be required to issue a donation receipt because it's being directed to a certain business. The other thing I would suggest is that if there's any additional cost by Cornwall Gravel to do any of the other work, that portion that would be paid by Ross Video would be given in a donation receipt because of the fact that it went through our tendering process. So when I spoke to Cornwall Gravel today, the portion that they want to extend for the campground would be done by Lloyd McMillan. It would be prepped and ready for Cornwall Gravel when they do their asphalt to come in and continue the path all the way through. So you'd have two different contractors. They don't have an issue with it. And they also feel that the price that's being provided by the contractor is really low. They can't compete with that. But I would still look at something in writing from Lloyd McMillan as far as the scope of work and the costs associated with it. And then we would work out the details with the person who's making the donation. So it's a lot. I'm sorry about that, but I'll open it up for any questions or comments from council, I guess.
Okay, Councilor Lewis.
I do have a question, Shannon, and maybe you can answer it, maybe you cannot. Since we got funding from a Trillium grant, does this additional affect the Trillium grant any which way? Because I know some Trillium grants are stated very clearly is we give you the money, but you fix what you state has to be fixed.
Actually, thank you, Councilor Lewis. I did forget to mention that. I did have a conversation with the Trillium Foundation. They have no issue with the project. The only request is that if there is a rescope to their original application, that they would need approval first. But this is not a rescope because it's still the pathways. We're just extending the way we're going around it. So they're okay with the terms that are being set out tonight.
Okay. And I agree with you. We should get a written from McMillan's. And I would like to also see a written letter from Cornwall Gravel stating that they do not have a problem working with McMillan. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Councilor Mellon.
Yeah, well, we have a procurement policy in place. We tendered this project out. Are Cornwall Gravel, are they going to reduce their contract for the portion that they won't be doing?
We'll have to have a conversation with that. I know Jeff's on, so maybe Jeff can speak to it. But I know the portion that they're not going to be doing, they will have to reseed and put it back to its original state because they'll be ripping up the old asphalt. But we can definitely have a conversation with Cornwall Gravel and figure if there's any additional, to me, if there's any additional costs associated with what we awarded should be put on to the person who's making the donation.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a generous donation, and McMillan, Lloyd McMillan, like they are, you know, make no mistake, they do good quality work, and this is no reflection on them. It's just I have a little bit of an issue when we went through the tendering process. I mean, to me, I would have much sooner had a, you know, an amendment to the work order or whatever you want to call those things. But I mean, if it's going to come in cheaper with Lloyd. But we got to be awful careful here, people, in this. I mean, this got started with the campground building, and we're heading down a very slippery slope. If we approve this, and the only way that I will approve it is everything's in writing, and Mr. Ross lets us, and I mean us as in our staff, Jeff, whoever oversees this project, is in control of it. Don't need two chiefs on the same path. We need to make sure that this project is our project. And if Mr. Ross wants to donate the money and pay it to Lloyd McMillan, definitely, I guess we'll go ahead with it. But no tax receipt because it's going to an individual. The problem I have with it is that, you know, no other contractor in the municipality gets a chance at these things. And it's our property, it's our infrastructure. And that sort of bothers me because, you know, he wants to use Lloyd McMillan. That's fine. I guess he's cutting a check. But at the end of the day, you know, this council has to be open and transparent and fair, you know, to all our contractors and how we, you know, deal with this. Now it's his money. I guess, but we're heading down a very slippery slope, and we got to be very careful on how we handle this going forward. If we go ahead with this, under no circumstances will I agree that next year the campground is going to be revamped. I think the staff needs to come back, as we've already said, and give us a full report on, you know, what the campground, you know, what we're looking at and what the plan, and, you know, have a firm plan on how we want to move forward with the campground. And if Mr. Ross is still in the mood to give a donation to help pay for that, then he has to have faith and he has to have trust in the council in managing that, and in our staff that are competent enough, more than competent enough, to carry the project out through. And we are the ones in charge of this, not an outside individual. I realize he gave the money, but this is still our infrastructure, and the people and Mr. Ross have to realize that at the end of the day, we have to be fair, open, and transparent, especially when we're, you know, eliminating any other contractor that might want to get this job. Mr. Ross is putting the money up, so I guess, but I think we need this totally written in writing. Anything above and beyond what Cornwall Gravel, what the original scope of the work is, and I would like to know if Cornwall Gravel is going to reduce that amount, that it's on Mr. Ross, because we are in a tight situation with COVID-19 with our funding. You know, we've deferred taxes and whatnot, so we don't, you know, we just, you know, Sarah gave us our audit and report. We signed off on that. We're in good financial shape, but we got to be careful with the dollars here for a few months, if into next year, because there's going to be some impacts yet on tax dollars going forward. So I will go with this, but we need something firm in writing. And I'm not going to, we got to make it clear that we're in charge of it. And this is not in any way, shape, or form, as far as I'm concerned, green lighting a campground expansion for next year. It may very well happen. I don't know, but this is not just, we're signing off and saying, yeah, the campground is going to be expanded. I think we need to have a very open and frank discussion with the donator, and everybody has to know exactly who's in charge and who's doing what. And that's all for now, Mayor Byvells.
Councilor Wells.
Well, I did have, I agree with my colleagues. I worked with John Ross in the campground building. It was a good experience, very good. Few little hiccups, but we all got through it. I do agree. The Ross family and the Ross video, the donations is just beyond belief what they've done in the last 45 years. And I do agree. I've talked to John several times, like we all have the vision, but I do agree at the end of the day, I want to see a concept plan on what's going to move forward. And again, it is the municipality's land. So I do welcome the donations, and I myself, to Councillor Mellon's, like, we have full control. I wouldn't quite go that far. I would still like to have, because it is John's vision, and again, it's our property. So I find it hard to just say, okay, and our staff is more than capable of increasing 8, 9, 10 campgrounds, putting in some 50 amp services. I fully agree. We're more than capable. But also, John, by donating the money, not to be there, but just to give his overview of it, if you like. Because don't kid ourselves, that campsite there's no 50 amp services. You go back, the sites are small, it's going back years, are bigger. Either we're going to stay in this business as campground owners, or we're going to let someone like John Ross and Ross Video donate to bring it up to standards. As far as I'm concerned, with all of the municipality, we have, like, at the end of the day, we have the final say. But as council, what I think we have to decide, either we're going to be in this business or we're not. Because as far as I'm concerned, besides the building, as far as the lot goes, and I've done quite a bit of camping in my years, same as Councillor Mellon, it's not up to par as far as sizes of the sites, amperage of the sites. The building is Class A, just saying. Anyways, as far as I think if the Ross family and Ross Video like to donate, I would definitely agree to it. Getting back to the path, I agree with the rest of the council to see if there's anything coming back from grants and get everything on paper. As far as like Lloyd McMillan doing the work, and I know transparency and taking work from other things, but Lloyd McMillan he's a very good contractor, along with the other ones I'm not going to mention. We know them all around here. I think it's a good thing as far as the municipality to, if someone wants to give that much and has a vision, I would myself would entertain it and work with the person and have the rules that everyone will sit down before we just say, okay, no, there's not expansion plan next year. We had a few discussions and emails that were sent to me by individuals that during this COVID-19, it's not an ordinary year. And what I did recommend is just take things slow, get this building up and going, move on, and not, as far as the past things, I think it should be done this year. As far as the rest, personally myself, I think we could give it a little rest and see where things go. But at the end of the day, I still agree if a company like Ross Video that does, they're a big employer here and they've donated stuff over and over and over. And John Ross himself, it's just, we have to have a little more, okay, this, everyone's got to work together, but just not throw everyone to the curb. So it's hard for me to explain exactly. I'm not all for John Ross having all the say, and I'm not for all the municipalities having the say. Like, at the end of the day, it is still our land, so it's our buildings, it's our thing. So it's not a private identity here. It's ours. But moving forward with that, like the Ross family, we can go back years and go, and not just the Ross family. There's a lot of different families in Iroquois that gave a lot to the community and the town of Iroquois. So I'm willing to work with anyone that wants to give donations. It doesn't cost nothing to the taxpayers, but there's a fine line to Councillor Mellon's statement there, that it's got to be, we just got to be careful how we do it.
Okay, so Councilor Mellon's oratory was well said. I fully agree with a lot of points he said. No disrespect to Ross Video and what they have done in Iroquois, except that we need to still do things right. And doing things right doesn't mean always wanting to have it your way. As far as the campground, John and I have had our meeting. John knows that we are not doing anything this year. So he needs to understand that and acknowledge that from our point of view, because we have a lot going on. We have the challenge of the pandemic and a half full campground, which I'm not sure how you make money on a half full campground the way it's set up there now. It's the only way we can run it. I don't disagree, it needs updating, except we need to have that discussion in a more clearer light. And he was told that would be in the spring, and I think at that time we'll entertain his offers and any offers we as staff and council come up with. As for the pathway and the whole way it's going to rejig here now, we should be very fortunate that Cornwall Gravel's attitude toward this is very conciliatory and allowing Lloyd McMillan to do the work. I fully agree with Councilor Lewis, Councilor Mellon, that this has to be put on paper, because when it comes to warranty, we're going to have two contractors involved in the warranty work of that pathway, one doing the base and one doing the asphalt on top. And we all know that one's going to blame the other for any kind of defects that happens. The old pathway has to come out and it has to be reseeded. I'm not sure if, I guess we'll have to ask Cornwall Gravel what their attitude is toward that. And reinstatement, it might be something that Lloyd will have to do too. So in the end, if Ross Video is willing to pay all the differences in costs in dealing with that, we'll certainly accept their money graciously. I do agree that we do have staff here between Director of Transportation and Environmental Services that we can come up with a plan to make sure that everything gets done right. It is our parkland, and yeah, I understand that John's put a lot of effort and hard work into it, mainly money. However, it's we need to do things right, and sometimes doing things right takes a little time, and it takes working with councils instead of throwing things on the plate and saying this is the way it should be. And And, you know, strings attached to money, you know, if you really think it's worth something to donate to, then you give your money away and you don't put your strings on it. That's the way it is, and just allow someone to get the job done. So, having said that, if we do it right, we got to make sure that it's done right, and that's tie up the loose ends, make sure everything is there's no loosey goosey here, and it gets done right and for the long term. And as I said before, the campground, this is no guarantee that it's going to get expanded. There are certainly some challenges in the area that we're reclaiming for the campground. Didn't rain too much this weekend, but I know Councilor Lewis knows full well if we have the 2-inch dumper that they'll mean everyone's going to have to get a pair of rubber boots down there, and you can build those ditches you want. It's just that low. So deal with the pathway now, deal with the campground next year. So anything further from council? Anything further from CEO?
No, all we'll do is we'll work with both contractors. We'll get an agreement in place, and we'll reach out to the donor and make sure that they're aware of all the requirements. Staff is aware of the work. I know Jeff and Danielle have been on site with Mr. Ross for a few hours, so they understand the scope of the work very well. So we'll make it very clear that it's you know, donate the money to us, and we'll work with the contractors to make sure it's done right.
Okay. Madam Clerk, we need any motion or anything to make this into effect?
I have one drawn up, but I'm not sure I'm clear. So maybe I'll read it first and then we can decide if it's clear or not.
Okay.
That the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas accept a donation from Ross Video for the Iroquois Pathway as per the donation policy, and accept the proposal from Ross Video to use Lloyd McMillan Construction to reconstruct a portion of the pathway, and that anything done above the cost of the project with Cornwall gravel is to be covered by Ross Video.
I think it surmises more. Council? I don't see anything, so we'll just call for the vote then.
So that was moved by Councillor Lewis and second by Councillor Wells, by the way. So for the vote, Mayor Byvelds?
Yes.
Councillor Lewis?
Yes.
Councillor Mellon?
Yes.
Councillor Wells?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on, we have a ratepayer correspondent concerning an issue with a water meter. All council have read it. Maybe we need some background from, I assume, the CAO on what we usually do with these kind of situations. So go ahead.
Certainly, thank you, Mayor and Council. So we have been having some discussions with the ratepayer in regards to their water meter. Their water meter was deemed to be broken and was replaced. As per our policy, our bylaw indicates that if the meter is damaged by the carelessness or neglect of any person other than employee or agent of the township, the owner of the premises shall pay the cost of making the necessary repairs. So the bottom of the meter was cracked and was leaking water from it. The bottom of the meter is a cast iron type. Usually it breaks just based on having no heat in the premises, and just from the freeze and thaw, it ends up breaking. According to the owner, they're indicating that the heat was on at all times, but what we've got from Morrisburg Plumbing, that it was due to freezing. So they're not happy with having to pay the cost of a new water meter. So hence that's why it's here tonight to council. It's in our policy. It is hard. Yes, the meters are getting older. The meters are 12 years old, but we expect that the cast iron part of it would not weaken, I don't think, over time.
Okay. Comments, questions, concerns, Councillor Wells, please.
I would have to deal like the Morrisburg Plumbing Center is our service contractor. So I would have to take their expertise on this, saying it was due from freezing. As of us, like, we can't go in and check on the facility. All we have to go on to make a decision is exactly what a service contractor told us. So if he says it's caused by freezing, unless proven otherwise from the homeowner, it's caused by freezing. So we deal with it the way it's supposed to be dealt with. Cost is up to the owner. Thank you.
Councilor Mellon?
Yeah, I guess, agree with Councilor Wells on this. I was sort of anticipating or looking forward to Shannon's verbal explanation from our contractor as to what caused the meter to break. I don't like, taking one person's word over another, but I guess in this case, he is our contractor. He is the expertise in this field, and if he said it was due to freezing, unfortunately, I guess it was due to freezing.
Councilor Lewis?
Well, I have to go by what our contractor says. I know Morrisburg Plumbing. I know how they work. We had an issue like that here not very long ago here in Morrisburg, and it was caused by freezing, and it did the exact same thing. It broke the cast at the bottom, and that cast it's fairly thick. So I can't see even after 12 years of water cracking it. So I'm going to have to go with what the contractor says.
Okay, then it sounds like council just wants to go with our policy, so please send some correspondence to our ratepayer, please.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next one is the key information report from our manager of environmental services concerning waste management diversion opportunities. So reason I asked for this for discussion is there's a lot of stuff in it, and I want to make sure the council is aware of some of these plans. They do sound good, but I think it's bringing it out in the open will not only allow council to have a discussion, it's also going to be out there for people to see. So Danielle?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the report that I put together tonight for additional diversion opportunities for waste management outlines where the municipality is currently sitting with regards to our diversion. So diversion is any waste that we aren't putting in the landfill. So recycling, blue box, and green box count towards our diversion numbers. So based on our report that we get from Waste Diversion Ontario, we sit at about 12% currently, and that's just at our curbside. Because we don't have a scale system, staff estimate that it's about 15% with the scrap metal program and the wood waste that we're diverting from the landfill. So it's not a significant amount of diversion. So in order to continue to follow a best practice, municipalities often try to look for opportunities to increase diversion. So some of those opportunities are outlined in this report. It's important to note that the more that we increase diversion, the more funding we do get from the province and from the producers of those products. If we can show that we're making a new best practice, we get more points associated to our data call that we submit each year, which is reflected in the funding we get. So some of the items I have here for diversion programming are things like mattresses and furniture. They can be recycled now. They don't have to be landfilled. Construction waste is actually a really big industry now for recycling. Leaf and yard waste, which we've talked about with council before, and wood waste, which we're doing now. Some other things, if you want to get past just stuff that we can do in a depot manner, are things like transparent garbage bags and organics recycling. Those two are a little bit, I would say those are higher hanging fruits, whereas the mattresses and the construction waste are lower hanging fruits that we can probably achieve. All of these things, of course, there are associated fees which are provided in the report, as well as images which show what happens to the materials to divert them appropriately. I'll take any questions that council has.
Okay, start with council. Councilor Lewis, please.
No, I have no questions. I read the report. The report to me is excellent. So, no, I have no questions. Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, Danielle.
Council Mellon?
Thank you, Danielle. That's, I think, as the mayor said, like, I mean, it gets us out and shows, I think everybody, this what we're going to have to strive towards and what is going to be required of our residents, and how maybe we could possibly be handling our landfills and diverting material away from it. If you could answer a question on number 3, where is it here? On this, under discussion item, costs associated free, profit potential, grade A, $10 a ton. What do you mean by grade A? Grade A fertilizer, basically, material, or like for leaf and yard waste? Is that, I was just curious as to grade A at $10 a ton.
Yep, so through you, Mr. Mayor. So the CCME, which is the Canadian guideline for compost, grades compost based on its contents. Most municipal programs that just do leaf and yard waste, so we're not talking about a green bin program that you put out to the curb, so just leaf and yard waste, can achieve a grade A compost. So it's the highest grade of compost that you can achieve. So a lot of times there will be farmers or larger industries that are looking for a compost material that they can bag, and grade A compost, it usually sells for about that per ton. It's not, doesn't seem like a lot, but there is a lot of compost that's generated from leaf and yard waste. So the grade A is what I would hope to achieve if we did something like that.
Personally, I think $10 a ton seems sort of cheap if it's good compost. But anyways, that we'll go down that road when we get there. But it's a very good report, and I think it highlights what we need to do and how we need to do it, and some of our options going forward. Thank you. That's all, Mayor Byvells.
Council Wells, please.
Yes, Danielle, thank you for the report. I went over it a couple times. I have a few issues. On the report, now I couldn't find it today, but back before you got here, Danielle, we had a report on our diversion from WSP, I believe. They had a delegation that were putting us up, as of right now, up close to like 20%, 21%. Maybe council can help me out here, but I'm sure we were up there, and we were pushing like you want to hit the 30%, which I'm not 100% sure in that. I can't until I find all the paperwork on this proposal from WSP, but I'm sure in that one delegation we were up there. So 15 to 20%. I do agree with you, Danielle. We have to preserve our landfill site. We have to hit 30%. What you have laid out here, I'm sure it will get there or get very close. As far as the landfill fees, the current ones, I'm all for that, but I'm also I've said this before, as far as, and in your report about a scale and everything, which I totally agree. If we get the scale and everything, after we see if we get the expansion on this, a lot of things relate to us getting the expansion on the Matilda landfill site. I don't know where we're at. Like, can you just bring me up to date a little bit, how close we are to expansion? And maybe it'll tell the public how the process we're going through now. We're going through this version, but I think it's 1 and 1. Like, there's no sense talking about this if we're not going to have a landfill site. So I agree with your report. It's a very good report. I like the 30%. The scale thing will have to come up for weight wise. I think it'll be the most honest, fairest part to do this. And we should look into even more diversion as far as even being a contractor to take like drywall and shingles and stuff to other landfill sites, like to divert it away from ours. That's not saying it's gonna happen, but it's open for discussion. So that's about all I have to say, Mayor.
Okay, so half of your comments, Councilor Wells, concerns the next KARs, which is the fee analysis and the scale, but that's okay. We'll add it to the next one when we have our when we do it. So I'm glad you're bringing us some option on diversion, Danielle. I think we as council all realize that we have to do something fast. As much as we are looking at expansion, we need to be smart with what's left. There's some opportunities here that we can do right away. I think there's the construction waste. I think that's a big one. If we're getting any, I think we need to seriously start sending that construction waste directly up to Tomlinson and let the contractors deal with that, and they'll have to cost it into their work because we can't afford to just throw everything in the landfill anymore. We just don't have the room. That goes for wood waste too. If we can't do much with it. As for leaf and yard waste, we'll have to cost that out and make sure when we do the plan that the plan's going to be something that works for all of us. I know that to do it right, you have to spend some money, and I think in the end we'll figure that out. But I think this report shows our residents that some of the things we're doing and some of the things they can do to relieve the stress in our landfills, and why we're taking these steps to make sure we keep as much out as we can. So that's mainly the reason I pulled it out. We can go from there. Anything further on this key report before we go on to the next one? Okay, seeing none, then the next one, Danielle, is concerning the tipping fee analysis and some discussion on scales, as Councillor Wells has alluded to. So go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the landfill tipping fees report that's in front of you this evening is a review of what our current tipping fees are as of 2020. So there is a chart provided in the report that outlines how we currently charge at the landfill. So as you can see, it's a bit, there's different prices associated with different sizes rather than weight. We do not have a scale at the landfill, which I think has been made apparent this evening. So we charge based on different sizes of loads that are coming in. And as you can imagine, it gets quite complicated when there's something that doesn't quite fit one of these check boxes. So upon review, because part of what I've been trying to work on is updating these fees and looking at what other municipalities are also doing. So I did complete a review of what other municipalities are doing with regards to tipping fees, and a large majority of them base their tipping fees on weight. It's very easy to convert weight into volume. Therefore, you're accounting for the space efficiently. So if your landfill is filling up faster, that means there's more material coming in, which you then charge for, rather than charging for the size of the load that's coming in a car or a truck. So one of the things that Sarah also brought up is the financial audit that MP completed also outlined that we should look and consider some sort of control process at the landfill for recording what comes in. And that would be like a scale or some sort of system that records what type of material is going in and how much of that is going into the system. So one of the things that this report looks at is bringing forward the idea in 2021 to the 2021 budget that a scale would be required at the Matilda landfill. So staff did inquire with a company that does manufacture landfill tipping scales. They're also the same kind of scales you see at a quarry. The original size that we picked, a 40-foot scale, is currently quoted at $50,000 plus HST. And if we wish to have some sort of monitoring system that would be applied to that scale, so a system that would account for weight as well as material types going into the landfill, we're looking at an additional $35,000 for that. So this information would help us allocate money towards the closure of the landfill, as well as ensure that we're, accounting for the types of materials and what that costs us to manage. With regards to if this landfill gets expansion or not, this is something that we will most likely need if we go to a transfer station as well, because you want to be sure that you're accounting for all the materials coming into your transfer facility as well as when they're going out of the facility. So regardless of if we were to get an expansion or not, a tipping scale would be an essential piece of infrastructure at the landfill. I'll take any questions that council may have.
Okay, Council Wells.
Thank you, Mary. We're going by weights and volume here. That's weights. Everyone goes by. I see all the municipalities and everything goes by weights, but you can take volume is based on how much we can compact it. And now since we have our own compactor, so I think the weight is a good thing to do because we can take our stuff and compact it down to get it. But there's a lot of stuff there based on volume and stuff. Getting back to my talking there before, I do agree with the scale 100%. It's just till we get, I don't think we should spend money on a scale rate yet to put it in. I don't know how long it's going to take before we're going to get the final report on if it's going to be a expand or we're going to go to a transfer station. But if it's going to expand, I'm 100% on board with the scale and everything. And contractors' waste, like even myself being a contractor, it's come to the time and where we have to divert, maybe not all of it, like the wood and that, because we still burn and stuff, but other building materials, I would be for diverting it because all contractors can work it into the cost. Today, myself, if I was pricing a job, I just get a container in by Tomlinson's, pass it on to the consumer, and that just, it's no extra stuff to our landfill. And it's all put in the price. And I think a lot of contractors are leaning that way instead of doing their own dump trailers and stuff. So like I'm for everything, and see how the landfill goes as far as the stuff, and we'll see where it goes.
Council Mellon.
Thank you, Mayor Byvelds. And yeah, Danielle, I got to agree with your report and what Councilor Wells has already alluded to, that, the scales, I think, is an important thing, and to make sure that everything's fair across the board. There can be a big difference in a truckload, a trailer load, whether it's the material in there. So to make sure that, we can recoup our cost and, it's fair across the board for the weight and just the pure weight you going in, that's, I think this is the way to go. And hopefully maybe by next budget go around that we'll have an idea on the expansion. As Councilor Wells has already said, that, it would be nice to know on that expansion before we go a lot farther. But in your point, and I do agree, I think if there's going to be a transfer station, if we don't get the expansion, I think the scale could probably be a valuable tool. Because we don't know how we're going to charge people. We can't charge people just on, a half-ton truck or a trailer load or whatever. And then when we ship it out, we find out, oh, gee, I guess we should have charged more. If we know what the weight is coming into our transfer station, if that's the case may be, then we know what we charge, and then we know what we're going to be charged. And, it's got to be cost recovery. I think the new brave new world is going to be changing quite rapidly. And I think people are going to have to realize that they're going to have to pay, by the pound, by the ton to get rid of their garbage. And I think just that alone will probably help our diversion efforts without a whole lot of, once they start paying by the pound and they realize what it's costing, I think diversion will maybe come into play. Your fee schedule, I guess, we'll leave it in place because what we're charging for a mattress now and what I guess in your report, you indicate that we can get rid of a mattress. The mattress costs us $25. Going back to that other report, is it going to cost us $25 to get rid of a mattress? And then we're charging $10 a mattress right now when we take it in. Am I getting that first report right? It's going to cost us $25 and we're charging, so obviously this is going to the fee structure is going to have to kick in at the same time when we launch that program from your first report, your previous report.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, the cost for mattress removal is about $25, and that's because of the transportation that's required. They do get recycled in Montreal. However, I did speak to the company that does the mattress recycling. The reason why it's so high right now is because we don't know how many we're going to get. It's based on how many mattresses that we would get. So once we start better understanding how many mattresses come in, that'll help us determine what the actual fee is. So $25 is my estimate based on how much I have seen come into the landfill in the last few months. But that could drop to be, so for example, other cities charge $15 and they come out even. So any diversion program, my recommendation would be whatever we get in from like somebody dropping off the material is what goes out to pay for that diversion measure. We wouldn't be making revenue off of that. So right now we pay $15 for a mattress, and we might see a $10 increase depending on how many mattresses we receive in a year.
So it'll be a truckload, same as when they come in for the metal, they'll come in for a truckload of mattresses or a truckload of steel or whatever. I understand that now. Okay. Obviously our fees are going to have to be adjusted as we go if we do, and hopefully we do go down the road of a scale to be, self-sufficient and, get our cost recovery back. That's all for now, Mayor Byvelds. Thank you, Danielle.
Councilor Lewis, please.
Good report. I think the scale is a good idea, but I think right now it's not the time for the scale. I would like to wait to see if we get the okay to make Matilda landfill larger, or are we going to have to go settle bins and stuff like that? But I think myself personally, I think the scales is a good idea, but I'll just give them time. Thanks.
Okay, so couple things. One of the things when council just talked about the fees and wanting to increase most of them was to come up with a more cost recovery model. And I'm in the opinion that we should do that sooner than later, at least halfway. I know people don't like things going up, but we're spending $1.7 million covering a landfill in Williamsburg that we never put any money aside for. And if we continue on the road of, well, we'll charge you $15, but it's going to cost us $25. That means $10 got to come from somewhere, which is, the rest of the residents of South Dundas. So we're getting, I don't have an issue with the scales in the big sense of the word, but I can still remember when we went to school and somebody asked the question, what weighs more, a ton of feathers or a ton of steel? And we all said, well, it's probably the steel, but it doesn't make any difference. The feathers are going to take a heck of a lot of room, and you can't compress them down to what the steel would have weighed going into a landfill. So, you know, it's a combination, in my opinion, that sometimes volume wins over weight, and sometimes weight wins over volume. I know that hauling 2019's corn crop, your trucks aren't big enough to haul what you really like to haul compared to 2018. So volume does speak a lot. Doesn't matter what you have scales or not. But how much of these fees, Danielle, that council had desired to increase in how many not? Was it kind of half of them, or?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, could you elaborate on that? I'm not sure which.
Well, okay, so council we went through these fees at our meeting, and if I remember right, most of them you were suggested to go up, but we're still holding off on putting them up. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's correct. What I did is I reviewed these fees. So these fees are definitely, in my opinion, they are very low. My recommendation would be to increase them. However, to increase them, I wouldn't have an idea of what to increase them by to ensure that we're covering our full cost. So without knowing the weight, it's very difficult to estimate the volume. So full cost recovery, we would take the amount of waste going in and divide that up over the different material types to account for them. If we were to adjust the fee schedule we have now, it would be difficult for me to say that we could cover full cost recovery just based on how many loads are coming in, but I'm not sure that would be a fair allocation of money. So, for example, if a truck comes in, they pay more than a car, but a car could have more than the truck, hypothetically speaking. So I'm not sure if that's what council wants to do. That's something that I can come back to council with, is increase the fees that we already have, or if council would like to consider increasing specific fees. So for example, mattresses are $15, but we know it costs $25 right now to recycle. I can look at that fee adjustment if that's something you'd like me to consider.
Did we not do that at our committee of the whole meeting where we discussed most of the fees and recommended some increases?
Our recommendation for fee increase, it was just a general fee increase. So we can increase them. I just wasn't sure if you wanted to wait till we had a scale in place to ensure it was fair across the board, or if you wanted me just to adjust the fees that we already have. So maybe if you could provide a little bit more direction.
Okay, fair enough. I guess I look at it this way, that we don't really need to, I guess, stop people from coming to our landfills, but there are people out there that have made a business of hauling waste to our landfills, which suggests to me that we're probably the cheapest game in town. In the end, the rest of the residents of South Dundas have to subsidize it. Do we as council want to run a business? Then we need to run it fairly. And I think there's probably some pretty steep increases here, and doing nothing right now and then trying to do it all next spring is going to be a big challenge. I think we won't be able to do it. And if we feel that they're too low now, then maybe we need to seriously look at them and make sure that they come in at a reasonable price. Councilor Wells, any comments?
Yes, I agree with you, Mayor. There's as far as there's doing it now, I think we're better off. We got to maybe do something now, maybe not to the full scale. And going back to the transfer station and Councillor Mellon's remark, I agree. Down the road, whether we have the expansion or not, Mayor, I do think we need the scale system there to adjust to the way what we're bringing in. But getting back to your point, like I think we got to do something right now. I remember the committee of whole meeting. We just did discuss a lot of stuff. Maybe if we just a month down the road or something, talk about it and actually sit down and have a good discussion and just put it in. like as far as like the report's there, but as far as saying, okay, we're gonna raise this, not raise that, I think we just have to have another good discussion about the fees and everything. Because obviously Danielle's asking for direction. In her defense, maybe we didn't come quite across as good. So I just want to be fair to everyone before we start making decisions that we're going to increase. But I do agree with you, Mayor, like something's got to be done that we're not doing it all at once, if that makes sense to everyone. So that's about all I have to do on this. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Mellon, anything further?
I do agree with you. I think there's some in here, and would it be fair to say that maybe Danielle could come back with a report, because the mattress in the box springs, I mean, she's highlighted the fact that, you know, you can run over them 1,000 times with your packer and they're not going anywhere. They're going to keep bouncing back up. You know, there's some things in here, I think, you know, especially if it's going to cost us $25 to get rid of them, and we're charging 15 right now, you know, my math isn't real good, but that doesn't, you know, that dog don't hunt. So, you know, the couch in the Chesterfield, some of those things, I think, you know, carpeting, I think we can raise, you know, as far as now, maybe come up. I'm not saying we go to the 25 yet, because, you know, like Danielle's already indicated, you know, if we get a big enough load, you know, but I think it needs, some things need to come up now so that the bite isn't going to be so big, you know, 6 months or a year down the road when we're charging for weight. You know, it's sort of hard on the trailer length and size. If we're in the ballpark right now, yes, maybe, compared to what other municipalities of our size. And the one thing I think that sticks out in her report is, you know, each municipality, you know, what we're going to charge is what we're going to need to get cost recovery. And it may not be the same as Windsor or Barrie or some of these other bigger cities or bigger, you know, areas. I mean, you know, that gives us a good, you know, benchmark, I guess, you know, to see where we are at. But we're going to have to charge what we need to charge, you know, to be at cost recovery to cover the cost of our landfills and all the expenses that go with it. So some things, yes, I think we could move up now in price. The other ones, I think, is going to be a little bit, maybe a little more tricky, I guess, to try and find out where we need to be.
Okay, Councilor Lewis, anything further?
I agree with my colleague. I think there is some stuff that's on here that definitely should be going up. When you're paying $15 for a mattress and box spring, and we all know that it takes most likely 300 years for it to go away. We have to put it up to $25 to put it up to $25. You know, that's the way life is. The only thing that I'm afraid of is if we put it too high to get cost, how many are we going to pick up along the side of the road? That's the only thing that scares me. And we've had this discussion before. But you know, I do believe that we have to put some of the stuff up, because really what we're taking it for, we might as well give them the money, just to take it off their hands, because we're taking it for nothing. Thank you.
Okay, Danielle, I think council has an appetite to increase the rates. I think maybe the best thing to do is go through it and see where we need to go. We had some information from our last meeting. It's certainly not we don't have the time now to go through every one because we're not prepared to do so. However, there's a few things that council had highlighted, and it's for the scale. The business case for next year can certainly be applied, and then we can go from there, because we're certainly not ready to install that. And I think that, along with everything else, will fall in place, and then we'll have something a little bit more respectable up there and something to make decisions with. Okay.
Yep. I'll review what you've asked, and I'll bring it back to council. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Key information report on the budget to actuals. I asked for that to come out, and it's in our package to review, and I actually went through it, and I didn't poke through every line, but I think there's hot ups and downs, and some of it's the point of year. Some is already spent because didn't need to spend anymore. Some has not been spent because we still have to incur that expense. However, with this being a year where things are not normal by a far shot, I think what I'd like to see Treasury staff do is go through that, and not certainly at the scale where we go budget, but even the scale we have as a report this evening, to highlight any concerns that they see, to alert council on. If there's excessive budget already spent, reasons why. If it's way under budget, reasons why. Possible implications because of COVID and any extra expenses that we have incurred and we will incur. And maybe still potential revenue losses if things like the arena or something like that has to run at half capacity. So maybe that's doing a bit of crystal balling, but I think we have the last 6 months to work with. We have 6 months to work going ahead, but if we're going to go to the province and say we need money, we need to A, justify it, and B, if we go through this process right now, especially this year, at least we'll have a good idea where we're going in the future, and it'll help us for next year. Any comments, Sarah?
So right now we do provide internally to our department heads a variance report that is highlighted with whether they're getting close to their budgets or if they're going over. So that's something that we can share with council as well and provide explanations, and also add in an additional column that has COVID implications.
Okay. Any comments from council on this? Yes, Council Mellon.
Thank you, Mayor Mybells. Yeah, I like yourself, it's a good exercise to have and to keep things in check. When I was, when you asked for this to be pulled out, I had read it over on Sunday and I went back through it today. And the one thing on page 174, and maybe if the manager of public works is still there, or maybe Sarah can, like on the road capital projects, new road construction is budgeted 271 and we're already at 585 actual. Am I reading this wrong? Am I getting this, or are we 314,000 over budget?
I believe, just off the top of my head, that would be some Ontario Street costs that have been allocated to that line. So it's just an adjustment that we would have to do in trying to reallocate it.
That shouldn't have been there. When I
Right.
saw that and we hadn't done much road work yet as far as Ontario Street, I'm thinking, okay, well, might as well call that tender off. Okay.
Yeah, we just have to do an adjusting entry for that.
Okay, thank you. That just makes me feel better.
Okay.
So what else?
Thank you, Mary. I do agree with you, Mayor, about all these, Sarah, the head department, seeing the actual where they're getting. I would definitely like to see that. It just gives us a more grasp on where we are. I know with the road department, the only one I always look at is the winter maintenance, because it's been a hassle, but I see we're in pretty good shape. We got 245,000 left, and hopefully it doesn't start snowing the 1st of October, and we'll be able to get through till the end of December. But overall, like the mayor said, if I had a breakdown of everything and just highlight stuff that will bring it to our attention, I went through this twice, and I'm pretty good with numbers, but we all miss stuff. So it was highlighted that any concern you guys might have, well, if it's concerning you, it definitely should concern us. Because at the end of the day, like, we're the ones that give the money out here. So it's nice to be a little more fine tuning on it. But other than that, everything looks good. Thanks.
Council Lewis, you still there? I think we lost Councilor Lewis, so we'll have to hang on because we can't run the council meeting without him.
I'll call them and see what happened.
Okay. Technology is good, but every once in a while it fails. There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Lewis, you're back.
I couldn't get off of mute.
Okay.
No, I think you pretty well put it in a nutshell, Mr. Mayor. I know of all the years that I worked for the municipality, sometimes numbers do get to where they're not supposed to be and they be adjusted. Sarah, to correct those. So, but I think you pretty well much hit it on the head of the nail. I would like to see it cleaned up a little bit, things going where they should be going. And that's about all I have.
Okay, so, no major concerns, Sarah, but I just, there's places we're going to spend money and places we're not going to spend any money because we're not going to conferences. Council's certainly spending less money, but that's only a small piece of the pie. Because I'm sure there's some staff costs that have been increased and stuff like that. So as long it gives us a good picture of where we're going for the next 6 months, and I know we've already started into it. And you may still have some adjusting entries between now and the end of July, but if there's any red flags, I think it's time for us to know. If there's any black flags, it's time for us to know too. So certainly don't expect it to the penny, but some big guys, I think those variances are something council needs to know.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Next key information report was the physician recruitment retention work plan. So I'll call on Shannon for that, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So after the last month or so, the doctor recruitment committee has been meeting through virtual meetings. We've had 2. We've had some discussions in regards to our strategic planning session we had back in December, where we actually brought a number of key stakeholders in to discuss how our doctor recruitment plan would look moving forward and kind of some of the deliverables that we wanted to achieve over the next couple of years. Due to COVID, we were unable to meet and kind of just brought this back forward in July. What we discussed was bringing somebody in that had the expertise that could review the current state of our communities, as well as work with the doctors that had the ability, had the expertise to do that. If council is not aware, Gwen Devereaux was pivotal in Goderich. When she went there, they only had 5 doctors, and today they have 28 doctors. So she was very, very, very huge in getting doctors to recruit to that area and to this date. So between myself and the CEO of South Stormont, we reached out to her to see if she could provide us some of her expertise and kind of diving into our current state to see what's working, what's not working, what our recommendations would be, and trying to work with communities as well as our doctors to try and increase our doctor presence. As council's aware, in the next couple of years, we will be in a doctor shortage due to retirement. So we need to be proactive on getting some new doctors in as quickly as possible. So with that, we did reach out to Gwen. She did provide us a kind of an overview. And what we'd be looking at is each municipality putting in some funding to get her down here in August. And then over the next couple of months, she would work on developing her overview as well as a plan in moving forward so that we can work on doctor recruitment moving forward. So with that, I'll open it to any questions or comments from council.
Okay, and the key reason for bringing this out is making sure that the public know that we do have a plan. We're working with some people that do have expertise in trying to recruit doctors. It's never going to be easy as it sounds, but I think doing nothing is certainly not the answer. So, Councilor Lewis, any comments?
I do agree with the CAO. We've had a number of meetings. Sometimes we pound our heads on the tables because we don't know what way we're going. I know the doctors have gone to different seminars and did their spill. But I think that we need Gwen's expertise, I'll say, to lead us down the right path. You know, you can have meeting after meeting after meeting, and if you don't accomplish anything, then all of a sudden all your doctors are gone, and you're still right where you started. So I really think that getting Gwen down here would be very good, not only for South Dundas and South Stormont, but the area. And I think it's a good way to go. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Councilor Mellon?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Byvelds. Yeah, I mean, we've made some good progress already in our recruitment for doctors in South Dundas and for the medical clinic, I guess, and we don't want to lose that momentum. And you know, this is a I think, very good way to, you know, continue on with that, you know, and have somebody that, you know, has the inside track on what they need to do to, you know, get the doctors or encourage people to come here and set up a practice. My only question, I guess, Shannon, would be, I agree with what the committee has recommended here. I guess South Dundas's share is going to be $8,000 to $10,000. And whereabouts, I guess, going back to our budget actuals, where will that money be coming from? Have we got a pot somewhere?
So we actually have two options. We do have some money in our consulting fees under administration. That would pretty much tap out our budget. The other discussion was maybe possibly is looking at our. I know we do have some efficiency funding left. This might be a good opportunity for efficiency funding. But once we get all the hours and costs, what I can do is we'll come back to council with some couple options on how we're going to fund it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it needs to be done. I think we need, you know, in the 8,000 to 10,000, the funding is going to, you know, what it is. You know, yeah, just, you know, I guess going back to what the mayor has from the previous report and our previous discussion, you know, we don't want to tap out one fund, and but I think we can find because this would be money well invested in the future of our medical clinics and our doctors and our residents to make sure they have long-term care. Thank you.
Councilor Wells?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we definitely need doctors. I'm looking at this like this has been going on for a while. We started this committee and we attracted one doctor, and what I can't understand, like we're bringing a person in where I thought like the doctors we had on the committee, what I've seen in reports that I've read, that they're attracting, unless there's something she knows that Gwen would set up a thing like why aren't we up on this, like, because it's doctors recruiting doctors, what I've seen with the couple meetings I've been to, like you're on that committee, I believe, Shannon. It's just like we need it, but then again, like we're spending money more and more, and I'm not against it. I want to, like, we're gonna keep. There's another 10,000 for South Stormont, 10,000 for South Dundas. Like, it's about time this committee and everything's been started. I know it's a slow process, but hopefully by bringing Gwen in, and maybe there's something the committee's missing and council missing. But the overall is just hopefully that by us keep investing, which we have to, but I just want to see hopefully something come to a plate with our investment. Like, I do agree with it, bringing her in, but I'm just voicing my opinion, like there's other monies that municipalities putting out there too to recruit doctors. By saying that, I hopefully it works out for both South Dundas and South Stormont. Thank you.
Shannon?
Yeah, just a response to Councillor Wells. So The doctor part of it is a small piece of the whole doctor recruitment package. There's a community piece. There's other facets, I guess, around doctor recruitment. You know, if you want to attract a doctor, you know, the spouse or the children need to have jobs or education. So it's all kind of is like a puzzle piece you need to put together. Gwen brings that. She has that collaboration already with nursing and all that stuff. So it would be kind of, to me, I look at it as an investment moving forward, that she'll be able to sit down with the doctors and ask the right questions that myself or Councillor Lewis don't have the expertise on the medical side, that can ask those hard questions so that we can not only look at how we recruit doctors, but how we recruit the families, how we keep the families here, what's their overhead like? Because we've noticed that before, we've heard about it before, that the biggest piece of it is their overhead, how high it is in comparison to other ones. So how can we manage and get everything kind of developed and move forward in one piece rather than kind of piecemealing it right now? So I look at it as a big investment moving forward.
Councilor Wells, anything further?
I agree with you, Shannon. Basically, we're paying for consulting again, like we do, and hopefully this consulting fee, which basically comes down to that, it's money well spent. By moving forward, by saying that, like I do agree, if I'm not the highest one on consultants, but if spending 8,000-10,000 gives us the same, I'm willing to listen to her reports and see. And there, like you said, it is one great big package. It's not just getting the doctor. We've had some really good discussions on the spouse and that, looking for jobs too. It's just not all about the doctor, it's about the whole package. So like I said, I'm good with it, and I hopefully at the end of the day our investment pays off. Thanks, Shannon.
Okay. Anything further from council? Okay, and I had listened to this lady speak when I went to the session we had with Eric Lockhart, and she's very enthusiastic. She knows her stuff. So I think if she can do that in Godrich, she gets half that done in South Dundas, South Stormont, we should be happy. So as the old adage goes, sometimes you got to spend money to make money. This is going to be spend money to get doctors. And we're not the experts in trying to recruit that. We've had some challenges. We've had some recruitment in the past, and some of them don't stick around, and some maybe we need to learn lessons from that too. So I don't have a problem with the fee. I just want to make sure that council's aware of it, and this also highlights it for our residents. So with that, we're good. Next one is a support from a resolution from the town of Prescott that Councillor Mellon pulled, so I'll let him speak to it, please.
Thank you, Mayor Byveld. Yeah, I've asked this resolution to be pulled. There was 4 requests under the consent agenda, or consent portion of the agenda tonight. All of these towns or municipalities, townships are, looking for either the feds or the province to step up and help fund enhanced broadband, and especially out in the rural portion of our municipality. I picked the Prescott one because it is Eastern Ontario. It sort of applies, as they all do, I think, to the trials and tribulations that people feel when you're out in an area that's underserved or has no broadband. And with COVID-19, a lot of people working from home, and I think it really highlights what our shortcomings are as far as internet services are, especially in the rural portions of our municipality. I'm sitting back here in Holbert. I'm not too bad, but I know there are areas not too far from me that, well, you might as well have a can and 2 cans and a string between them, because you're not going to be able to make contact with just about anybody unless you're yell loud. So we need to have this. It's something that I think is being highlighted by COVID-19 and the lacking of it, and the shortcomings we have in this, and it puts us at a terrible disadvantage, as has been highlighted in the Prescott resolution, and I think this is something that we as South Dundas can make a resolution to support and send it off to the governing bodies, show our support for this.
Okay, any comments from Councilor Lewis? Start.
No, I agree with my colleague. So, as he said, the other places aren't as lucky as what we are. So I support this very strongly. Thank you.
Councilor Wells?
No, I I agree with Councillor Mellon. I would like to see a letter drawn up from the municipality of South Dundas and forward to Premier Doug Ford to address the concerns as the rest of them has. So I'm all for it to get it out to the rural area. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that Councilor Mellon and I discussed about Eastern Ontario Warden's Caucus and the Eastern Trail Regional Networks work, and they've done a lot of work. However, technology gets old, or technology gets more outdated than old. So more work needs to be done. I think supporting the Town of Prescott resolution is a good idea. So with that, I'll call on the resolution, please.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Lewis, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas support the resolution from the Town of Prescott to support the call by Minister Steve Clark for the federal government to commit to the investment without delay in broadband and cellular infrastructure in the underserviced areas in eastern and southwestern Ontario.
All heard the motion. I'll call for the vote.
Mayor Byvelds?
Yes.
Councillor Lewis?
Yes.
Councillor Mellon?
Yes.
Councillor Wells?
Yes.
Motion carries. So our last item on our discussion list tonight is beach use fee discussion. We've been asked by some of our residents to explore that idea. I think there's some pros and cons that I think first of all, I'm going to ask any members of staff if they have any comments concerning this from the start, and then we can go from there. Since I can't see you, just, and if you don't, then I will go on myself. Go ahead, Shannon.
Yeah, I guess only a few concerns. You know, we've talked about this, I know in the past, it came up in Iroquois last year. And although it's nice from a parking perspective is to recoup some money to go back in the infrastructure, I think the challenge you have is enforcing it. You need to have either a student down there all summer or somebody down there, or have additional bylaw that can focus down there. I know we've talked before about having a parking machine, and I believe the price a number of years ago was, I think, $20,000 or $25,000 for a parking machine. So there's options, whatever way council wants to go. I just think you have some challenges for any option you want to go to. So I'll leave that up to council for some further direction from staff.
Okay, so from my point of view, I've argued in the past that having a fee at our beaches is not something that I would like to entertain. I think we're in the business of promoting people to come to South Dundas, and part of coming to South Dundas is enjoying our waterfront and enjoying our beach areas. Sometimes we have some challenges with some, I guess, visitor respect, but we still, you know, we want to build South Dundas. We have a big subdivision that Swanks are going to build west of Morrisburg. We want to continue growing opportunities, and it's not going to happen by just saying we don't want those people to come down during tourist season. I know it's a big challenge this year. However, if you charge a tourist a fee and charge our residents nothing, I'm certain that's going to leave a sour taste in people's mouths. People don't, you know, it doesn't take much for people to see that you're nickel and diming them, and either you charge everybody or charge nobody. We've been very good that we have volunteers to help, and we've been investing in our waterfronts. I'm still in the opinion to leave it the way it is for this year. Yes, it's challenging, but it seems to be working. We're getting through some of the challenges as we speak. So we're 3/4 of the, well, we're a quarter away of it through the 2 months of summer, and then it'll turn around and go and try to make everything work. It's just going to be a big challenge. So I'm in the opinion to leave it the way it is for now. So Councillor Wells.
Thank you, man. I'm disagreeing with you. There is one part as far as letting it go for this year. I would agree because we're part way through July. But as far as redirecting tourism, there's no parks around that doesn't charge beaches. I think it's a point where our tax dollars are going towards maintaining our waterfront, and the taxpayers are already paying it. So as far as coming out and saying, like charge everyone equally, well, as taxpayers, we're paying our share now. So I do agree with there should be a fee to use our waterfront, beaches, parking. It offsets the cost of mowing, garbage pickup. I think we're not going to scare anyone that actually wants to come here, settle down, raise a family, because they're not going to be charged anyways. But people coming in from out of town and stuff, and it's just not COVID that started this. We can go back 2-3 years ago. It's just every year there's more and more people coming here because it's free. I'm in full belief that we start charging for what we have. We have a gym here, and if the people's coming here and see that and appreciate to pay a little bit, and like parking a car for $15 or family $50 to use the beach and park for a day, that's pretty cheap to get what you see here. I've been a lot of places. We all have. I paid for a lot of different parks, waterfronts that you went. As far as scaring people away, back in here, as far as charging a fee, we're not going to scare them away. It's people that's coming here. The reason they're coming here, as far as I'm concerned, is because it's free. And are we attracting them? They're going to buy a house from Dutch Metals? Maybe, maybe not. But I think it's coming to the time where we have to start charging for what we have here, whether it's a small and as far, like I wouldn't say a year. Well, I would recommend we have students police it for June, July, August. Your May, September, if people want to come and use it for free, they will, but for those 3 months in the summer, yes, I would set up students at Iroquois and Morrisburg and set up, have staff come up with a plan to set up points where we don't have to go with a parking meter and that. We have them there. As far as the municipality go, you can get a free pass, even like to our neighbors, North Dundas and South Stormont. But anyone outside that, they pay a fee, and I honestly think that's what the public wants. We're paying our share as taxpayers, and it's about time other people start paying to see what we have here to enjoy. Because at the end of the day, there's on the weekends, people are here because it's free, and our own residents don't get to use the stuff that they pay taxes on because we're just letting everyone else use it for free. And that's all I have to say for now, but I might say something after it goes around. Yep.
Councillor Mellon.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mayor Bybels. I think we hit the perfect storm this year. I mean, a lot of our around the surrounding areas, either the beaches were closed or they were partly open or pools were closed back at like at North Dundas. Their pools are closed. I mean, we had people coming in from, I don't know, wherever they were using our waterfront. And you got to remember, I think, what has brought this to the forefront is, with COVID-19, we had to close the beaches because of overcrowding. Whether we charge or don't charge, some residents are, upset, and understandably so, because Councillor Wells makes a good point. I mean, the taxpayers have, pay, to, have that amenity that they can use to go to the water. But whether we charge or don't charge, if we get into a situation in the next few weeks where, the beach becomes overcrowded. Now, the government announced today that they did up the numbers as far as people that can be outside in groups and whatnot, but they still have to maintain that social distancing. So I don't know if that's going to have an effect on how many people can be at the beach. I think if this COVID-19 hadn't come along, I think we probably would have had enough room at the beach. It would have been crowded. Maybe, but with the social distancing and the Eastern Ontario health measures that were in place, all of a sudden the beaches were closed. So whether we do or don't charge probably wasn't going to make a lot of difference in the last few weeks. Going forward from today on, how do you put young students, summer students, we haven't got anybody. We just don't have the manpower right now to get anything open and going. And, you're going to have at least 2 people at each beach, because I don't think you want to put a young student out there or a summer student, and a regular staff, whether it's on rec or whatever. We just don't have the manpower right now to get much open in the next few weeks, and to try and find somebody in a short period of time, I don't think it's going to be realistic. So personally, I think we maybe should explore whether we charge outsiders, for, if you will, sounds like an awful term, but to use our facilities, our beaches, maybe a free pass to the residents of South Dundas, as Councillor Wells has said. I don't think it's going to maybe deteriorate or deter people from coming to South Dundas. I mean, if they have no place else to go, they'll come. I mean, they'll still come out unless we charge them like $100 a person or something. They're not going to, but just a small amount maybe isn't out of whack right now. But I don't think there's a lot we can get done before the end of this summer. I just don't know how we can, it's so, with the new measures that the government announced today, I don't know, I'd be almost tempted to open try opening the beach again and see what happens. Maybe some of the other beaches and some of the other areas might be open. That's a short-term fix, and I think whether we charge outside residents to use our facilities, that's something that maybe we can address over the fall and winter months, and be prepared for next summer, because we just can't start up out of the blue. So I would be almost inclined to see if we could just open the beach and see what, if we have to close it again because it's overcrowded and social distancing and the new measures that come in. Once we get more clarification on that, it's unfortunate, but that may be what we'll have to do. And maybe we should entertain, charging people from, that come here, because it is free. I don't think we want to scare people away, as Mayor Byvelds. I think you're right there, but unless we're charging $100 a person, I don't think we're going to scare too many people away. And a nominal fee for using of the beach, and maybe, I don't know, the parking. Some municipalities, I know my niece lives in Barrie, and I think their parking is part of they get a parking pass, I guess, with their water bill that they can use for parking at their parks. So somebody else has to pay from outside, the city has to pay. So there's some options I think we can look at, but I don't know how we're going to manage it for the rest of this summer without just, my opinion is just open the beach again and hope for the best that, maybe the pressure will be taken off Iroquois, Morrisburg, and we can enjoy the rest of the summer. But that's all for now, Mayor Byvelds.
Councillor Lewis.
I don't have an issue with charging to use our beaches. And as Councilor Mellon stated, it's not nice to say outsiders. I don't think that is the correct word, but I don't believe that we have time this year to do that. I would leave it the way it is for this year, and if we decide that we are going to charge next year, maybe the residents of South Dundas gets a free pass, free parking pass, whatever, in their taxes. But I definitely would not, and I'm speaking from experience here, put a student at a beach or at a dock area to collect money. We were down that road once before, and the poor girl that was working at the dock, they were going to throw her in and drown her. The poor girl wouldn't even go there. She's petrified right for her life. If you're going to start charging, you hire an adult for Morrisburg, an adult for Iroquois. Don't put, please, let's not put a student in that spot because that is uncalled for. It's not their responsibility. And people will not talk back to another adult. But, I think we should leave it the way it is this year. And if we decide next year that we want to charge to use our beaches, well, then we put a fee on it. But I think here it is, the middle of July. Summer's just about over with. Opening the beaches on weekends, I'd most likely leave them closed for at least, and then we'll go from there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have to say.
Okay, so it seems like council's leaning toward fees, but not this year. Is that correct from everyone? Okay, so we'll continue on with this year. However, for next year, we'll have staff come to council with a plan on how to charge for fees for the beach and waterfront use. And we will have another debate at that time and see if things have changed or if things have to continue on. So, okay, that's it. No notices of motion tonight, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay, so before I go into, ask the clerk to read the next session, which is go into close, I'd like to thank council for their work so far. I'd like to thank all staff for their reports and their ideas. And I also like to thank the audience for participating tonight. Another hot summer night, and maybe not as hot as it has been, but certainly been a warm summer, and hopefully we'll have a good summer to enjoy the rest of the 2 months. So with that.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Wells, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas proceed in camera in order to address a matter pertaining to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employee, and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board.
Call for the vote, please.
Mayor Byvelds?
Yes.
Councillor Lewis?
Yes.
Councillor Mellon?
Yes.
Councillor Wells?
Yes.
Okay, and with that, we will go in closed session. For those who are live on Facebook, we will be going off. We won't be coming back. So thank you very much for participating. The only things that'll be left after will be the ratification bylaw. So, and adjournment. So thank you and have a good night.